So I'm here at the Porsche service getting the car serviced today. I've got another flat tire. The wheel and tire insurance just is the gift that keeps on giving. It's down here and they're going to give me a Boxster. So since I got this car for a day or two, we might as well take it for a spin and talk about it a little bit. William and I have been taking a lot of romantic cruises in convertibles lately, it seems, so this is just another opportunity. Although the weather isn't really convertible weather, we'll get by. But one of the great things about the Boxster is you can put the roof down while you're driving along. Let's do that now. Here we go, here we go. Roof is opening. Pretty cool, eh, William? Roof is open. Woohoo! So this is the Boxster S with the 2.5 litre 4-cylinder engine. A lot of controversy around the sound of these engines, of course, but you can't deny that the way they deliver power is pretty awesome. This thing is a goddamn rocket. 350 horsepower, but really the real benefit here is all that extra torque from the turbochargers. Does make this car a very easy car to drive, particularly when paired with the PDK dual clutch 7-speed transmission. But before we get on to how does it drive and what fun these cars are, let's talk a little bit about what options this particular car's got. It has got a lot of options. Well, let's start with the exterior. It's got the paint, which I think is about $600 for the sapphire blue, just sort of an electric blue. It's not very common or popular on the 911s, but I think it looks great on the Boxster. I really do. I think the Boxster shines and the Cayman shines in this color. Quite popular in these smaller sports cars. And matching with the exterior color is the painted vents on the side, $660. Not sure that I'd get that. And also the model decals painted on the back, the exterior color, $220. Not sure I'd get that either. An expensive option on the outside is the 20-inch wheels, upgraded from the standard 19s on the S model. $1,500 for these Carrera S. That's an expensive option, but certainly the 20 inches look great. The ride does suffer a little bit with the 20 inches. The 19 inches are a little easier over the bumps, but I think everyone loves the look of the 20 inches, so generally go for those. But the most expensive option on the exterior of this car is the sports exhaust, $2,500. I definitely wouldn't get it. I mean, it does add volume. I'll turn it off now, and we'll do that again. But you see, even with it off, it's still crackling and burping, and I just don't think it's worth $2,500. I think most people would, if you want a louder exhaust, a third-party aftermarket exhaust will do a better job. The only advantage of getting the Porsche sports exhaust is you can turn it off and on. Not that it makes a huge difference. I don't know. Onto the interior. The most notable option in the interior, of course, is the PDK. I've spoken at length about the PDK in other videos, but basically, even though I'm a manual transmission guy, I do love the PDK. It really reads your mind. Lightning fast shifts. It is the best dual clutch transmission on the market, if you ask me. And I think it suits this engine perfectly. Makes the car feel faster, makes the car go faster, makes the car more fuel efficient. If you've got the Sport Chrono package, you can do the launch control. It is a lovely transmission. But as you know, the manual's also excellent. Couple of grand for the PDK. The most expensive internal option is actually these seats, the 18-way Sport Plus seats. I love these seats, but I can understand that not everybody wants to fork out over $3,000 for seats. You get more than just the seats, you get the memory package, which remembers where the steering wheel should be, where the mirrors should be, other settings within the car, and of course the position of the 18 ways within the seats. They are definitely the most comfortable seats for someone of my size, but if you're looking to shave some money, the two-way Sport Plus seats are also just about as comfortable. They just don't work as well for people with long legs because you can't lift the front of the seat. The 14 ways, as I've said in many other videos, also good seats, but I find them a little harder. So long trips to the 14 ways aren't as comfortable. Another expensive option on this interior is the Premium Pack, which is a North America option, which adds entry and drive, the rain sensor, the 2-zone climate control, which I cannot believe isn't standard in the Boxsters and the Caymans. The seat heating, oh, I don't have it on for William. Here, William, let me warm up your ass, little buddy. The seat ventilation in this package, and the Porsche dynamic lighting system, which turns the lights at night in the direction that you're heading. That package basically is worthwhile. If you're thinking about getting all those things, it shaves a few $100s off. This car has the navigation at $1,700. I'm not sure the navigation's worth it, that sort of money. It's certainly a very nice navigation system, don't get me wrong, but for $1,700 you'd expect to be able to connect your iPhone with the CarPlay, but that still requires you to get the Connect package, which is another $1,000. Talk about nickel and dime. This is what Porsche is all about. An option that I think is actually pretty good value is the Bose, and this system is $1,000. It really does make a big difference to the sound system. The bass sound system's pretty weak. The Bose is excellent now. And finally, a free option, the smoking package. Down here, just adds a cigarette lighter and the little cover. So if you add up all the options I've just talked about, it's about $20,000. Now keep in mind that this car is a $70,000 base, so you're talking about raising this up to a $90,000 Boxster, which is a lot of money for this little sports car. There's a lot of other options out there for $90,000. And to me, the more notable thing about the options of this car is, despite having $20,000 of other options, it's still missing a few things that a lot of people really like. One of them being the Sport Chrono package. Not that the Sport Chrono package is a must. It adds that silly little clock in the center. It adds the dial on the steering wheel here, which changes the modes, which I find to be really useful in my 911. And it adds, of course, the ability to do launch control with your PDK. Most people do launch control twice when they first get their car and then never do it again. The second is leather. This car has the most basic leather package. That is leather on the seats, the steering wheel and the armrests. For a $90,000 car, you'd kind of expect a bit more leather thrown around, but you need to pay extra for more leather packages. Not that you really notice in a black interior. And black interior in the Porsche cars, you can get away without the full leather. But what I do find disappointing, and this is true of all Cayman and Boxsters, is that the Porsche Connect package is not standard. It's standard in the 911s and other Porsche models, but in these cars you have to pay the $1,000 in order to be able to connect your iPhone to the Apple CarPlay. Just ridiculous that you have to pay that money. And if you want to use the navigation and all the other CarPlay features, you have to pay that money. So I strongly recommend not getting the navigation, just getting the Porsche Connect. It's still $1,000, but I think that's the best value for money for getting all of the apps and connectivity you want with your Porsche. Another disappointment is the lack of the Porsche torque vectoring, which I think is important, especially if you're driving these cars in adverse weather or even slippery conditions. It really assists with the grip of those rear wheels. This is a rear wheel drive car, mid-engined, and it's got plenty of torque, so it really does like to step out quite quickly. And the Porsche torque vectoring really does make a noticeable difference to the way these cars put power down to the road. And unfortunately, to get the Porsche torque vectoring, you also have to get the PASM, which is the electronic dampeners within this car, which also lower the car 20 millimeters, which I hate. It just makes the ride that much stiffer, and these cars handle so perfectly without that. So you're paying for something you really don't need and something that makes the car more uncomfortable. And so then the overall package, just for getting the Porsche torque vectoring, is over $3,000, and it's just not worth it. And unfortunately that hobbles the performance of these cars a little bit. It's a real shame. Other little nitpicky things, on the rev gauge here you get the grey background on the S models. I find this very annoying. I find this very annoying because I find that hard to read. Looks out of place, looks odd, looks cheap. I don't like it. And in the 911s and other models, you can option that out for a black gauge, which looks so much better. But with the Cayman and Boxster, for some reason, at the moment, you can't option that out. You're stuck with that horrible grey gauge. You also might notice that this car is very low mileage, and it only had delivery miles on it when I picked it up this morning. So I'm really the first driver of this car, so I feel a little sorry for it that I'm beating on it as its first driver. And as for Cayman versus Boxster, well, it comes down to personal taste. Do you like open air driving? Get the Boxster. Personally, for me, I think I'd always get the Boxster. Having a two-in-one car, obviously having a convertible makes it a little trickier to do some track days and things, but this is really a great open air experience. And despite being a convertible, the chassis is taut and it's a lot of fun to drive in these back roads. You know, Porsche just get these cars so right. Obviously I'm a bit of a Porsche fanboy and I'm always going to love any Porsche car, but I'm always impressed with how these things perform. And as I said before, the roof opens and closes while you're driving. And it does provide a lot of insulation. You know, it's a pretty thick roof, so when it's closed, it's pretty much like a Cayman inside here. You know, it becomes very quiet, the outside noise disappears. I think the Boxster's a really great package. We'll put that roof down again, Will? As for the S versus the non-S, Boxster and Cayman, as I've said in previous videos, I think I'd be perfectly happy with the base model, save myself 10 grand, and just as much fun to drive. Really the only other big thing you're getting with the S model is the brakes. And now the brakes are worthwhile. It's nice to have big brakes, especially if you're going to be tracking these cars, but these are light cars and even the base model brakes work perfectly fine in these cars. So I'd be tempted, as I said, save your money. And as for options overall, as I said, this car's got $20,000 worth of options on it, but really none of the options in this car are must-haves. You can get these cars pretty much with no option, and it's just as much fun to own and drive. So save your kids' college fund and just get them pretty much basic. Try and trim back as many options as you can, otherwise these become so expensive so quickly, as is demonstrated in this car, $90,000. Anyway, thanks for coming along for the ride with us. Will and I are going to go back to screaming around the back roads. And we'll catch you in the next video. Bye then.